All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Bird Rights Podcast. My name is Zach Lambert, and today we're going to be doing our Super Bowl preview and NFL honors and MVP predictions, as well as our Super Bowl bets. And trust me, we have some locks for you today. Um, I'm joined by Jack Wilhelm, Declan Pollard, and Jack Kovahay. And yeah, I guess we can just get right into it and start with some of the news that's come up over the past week. Firstly, and most probably, obviously, actually not the biggest news to drop, but Sean Peyton has been traded to the Denver Broncos to become their next head coach. The package includes Denver sending a 2023 first, which is this year's first round pick, which was San Francisco's originally, which is number 30, and then a 2024 second for Sean Payton and New Orleans 2024 third. I think this is actually a pretty good fit for Sean Payton coming in with a quarterback like Russell Wilson, who potentially he might be able to rejuvenize or, bring him back,
Rejuvenate.
rejuvenate, yeah, or whatever. But, I think that this could be a good pairing, and, hopefully, this allows a lot of Denver's pieces to stay because, there were a lot of rumors that Judy might have gotten traded or Sutton's going to get traded. And, this team could definitely, possibly make a push next year, with an actual sustainable head coach now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are getting on this move. Like some people are calling Sean Payton overrated. And they're like, oh, he only has one Super Bowl. I'm like, yeah, a lot. Who has two Super Bowls? Which coach has two Super Bowls in the league besides Belichick? That's really, the Sean Payton criticism I don't get, but that's not where I'm seeing most of the criticism. Most people are saying, why would you trade picks for a coach? You're already slim on draft capital. Now you have no chance of contending in the Russell Wilson era. And I guess my response to that is, did people think they were going to contend in the Russell Wilson era anyway? My thought, like, if you have the 30th pick and you get a solid tier, like a B tier, whatever pass rusher, like, is that changing what the Russell Wilson era looks like? I think this is a great move for Denver because Sean Payton is one of the best head coaches in the league. And sure, he'll help Russell Wilson some. I think Russell Wilson will look much better. And I think maybe Denver can be a solid team, 8, 9, 10 wins, even if they're playing well. But they're not serious contenders. But that wasn't happening no matter what happens, unless that 30th pick was, Lawrence Taylor in his prime. So I think with Sean Payton, what you do is you maximize the Russell Wilson window to be, people don't like talk because people want to, fans are like Super Bowl or what are we doing? You can make it a window where you're playing some competitive football. And Sean Payton's only like 57, 58. He's got 10, 12 years left of coaching. So um, Sean Payton is a move that is not just focused on this Russell Wilson era of Broncos football. When 2025, 2026 comes and they can get out of the Wilson deal, you then have one of the best coaches in football to take you into the next era with, you'll draft a new quarterback and you'll start building from there. But I don't think, the history of trading for coaches like this, it almost always works out. Belichick was a trade. There's, the Tampa traded for Bruce Arians. There was only a 6th round pick, but still that worked out. There's a few other examples that are escaping my mind right now, but and like if you look back to 2014 when Harbaugh left the Niners, how many teams wish they would have traded for Jim Harbaugh? I think quite a few. The only example I can think of when it didn't work was the Parcells trade. Gruden, when he went to Tampa, that was a trade of 2 firsts and 2 seconds, and they won a Super Bowl thanks to that.
Yeah,
So
that
I
was
think
a
I think
very
yeah,
pricey deal.
yeah, I think long term it's a good move. Head coach is wildly important, and I think you don't like giving up a 1st round pick, but I think that's the price you pay, and I think it's more than worth it.
Yeah, Sean Payton's also never had a season under 7-9, under
Yeah,
7 wins. So 7-9 is his worst season he's ever had, which is really good. But yeah, other than Sean Payton, we also had Steve Wilks hired as the 49ers' new defensive coordinator, replacing D'Amico Ryans, who was hired by the Texans. Wilks I think he was a pretty big candidate for the Panthers and had that team looking really good at the end of the season. So this is a good hire for the 49ers. Not really much to say about it, but
I got a one quick thought on Steve Wilks. I think this is a fantastic hire for the 49ers. And, Wilks did a great job with that Panthers defense that had some talent, but not a ton of talent. They had holes at every position, but they also had strong players at most of the positions. Just they had lopsided rooms with their edge rushers and corners and stuff like that. But I think Wilks is a great hire. I think it's interesting to note another minority assistant coach for the Niners, in which I'm sure in a year or two, Steve Wilks is going to get a head coaching job somewhere because he's a fantastic coach. And the Niners are going to get 2 more third-round picks. They're already getting 2 third-round picks for D'Amico Ryans. They got 2 third-round picks for Robert Saleh. They got 2 third-round picks for Mike McDaniel. They got some for someone else. They got picks. The Niners just keep stacking these comp picks for the rule they have for coaches hired out of your system. So I think Steve Wilks is a great coach, and when he leaves to get a head coaching job, they're going to get more draft capital for him. And I think the Niners have an interesting system that's going on there.
I wish we had Kyle Shanahan so bad.
The Titans hired the Titans and the Commanders both hired people from the 49ers as well in their front office that are as general manager that will fit that bill as well.
Yeah.
So they're really just
they're gonna have 7 third-round picks.
Yeah. I've never seen something like this before.
It'd be like us last year. I'd be like, oh, another one.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a 4th rounder, Jordan Stout. Oh,
we had 6 4th-round picks last year. That was wild.
I mean, it's a good strategy to use to get those picks, but I mean, yeah,
someone just feels a little wrong about it. If that makes sense.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
You'd wish that teams would be able to. You'd wish we'd be far enough along that teams would just hire minority coaches because they're the best candidates. And Steve Wilks is a great candidate. You should hire him. He's a fantastic coach. Same with D'Amico. Same with all these guys. But all these they get a lot of old white owners that need the influence, so we can get some picks if we hire. Okay, the rule I guess is kind of working. I don't know. It's
just wait till we hire Bieniemy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. The rule's kind of working, but Bieniemy is so overqualified to already be a head coach. So I don't know. But it's just interesting to note. I don't really. It's too hard for me to think about right now. The whole rule, but it is interesting for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. But moving on to some more news. Derek Carr was granted permission or something like that to visit the Saints, which is kind of an interesting place. Obviously they do need a quarterback, and it's a team that's looking to possibly win. I'm not really sure what that team's looking to do right now, but Derek Carr looking to go to the Saints is really interesting considering their cap space and all their money and their future, guarantees and all that stuff. I know, I think Declan or Jack sent something to our group chat saying that Michael Thomas is going to have the highest guarantee or highest cap hit next year.
Yeah, all players, yeah.
Kovahay sent that,
plus million.
It's currently just 60, it's 59 million, which is a lot of restructures and stuff, but that'd be the highest cap hit this year or next year. I don't know how they work their way into that.
Wait,
he's almost certainly going to get cut or extended, whichever.
That real? That's great.
Yeah,
nope, that's
if
real.
You go on, if you go on Spot Check right now, it's 13 million, 59 million. It's oh.
I thought you were about to be 30.
I think it's either next year or the year after that, maybe 2024 cap hit. But yeah, it's an absurd number that they've worked themselves into there.
Yeah, it's wild. If I was the Saints, they had this Drew Brees team, and they kept pushing their money problems into the future, and those money problems have really been coming back to bite them. They've been losing players in every offseason, but they still want to compete, so they're trading first-round picks, and they're signing Marcus May, and they're signing Tyrann Mathieu. Yeah, and they're
Sorensen. Can't forget Daniel Sorensen.
So they're making all these
the
moves.
best safety,
if they put in serious money for a long-term Carr deal, and they take or they just take on the Raiders deal, it's not a terrible deal for Carr. It's fine, and they could he could get cut, and they could sign him, but they are then again they're already 70 million over the cap. They're going to have to keep pushing these contracts of players who are already old or injured down the line, and right now they could. They'd still have to restructure some stuff now to get under the cap, even to not sign anybody. So they'd right now, it would probably take 2 years to just like 2 years of not making any financial commitments, doing what you can to kind of clear the books. If they go in on Carr, they're just extending that. They're extending the fuck period following them trying to win. And I don't think you're winning with Carr and, gutting this roster anyway. So I don't know. I think it's time for them to just bite the bullet, ride with Andy Dalton if you have to and clear the books. Don't spend any salary. Win 1 or 2 games next year. Like seriously, just stink. Just suck it up, get Caleb Williams, and then clear your books for the next generation of Saints football. Because right now, they're just going to be in this endless cycle of clearing money off their books, paying an older Cam Jordan every single year, and paying Teron Armstead while he's not there, and paying an older Ryan Ramczyk and Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara and all these guys who are getting older, and they have to keep increasing their cap hits down the line because they have to keep restructuring the money. If they go for Carr, terrible management. I can't excuse it. Like you can't keep kicking the can this far and not and expect to be any good at any point.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
The reason that they would do that is because as the NFC South is not
sucks. Yeah,
it's pretty wide open.
Who's the best quarterback in the NFC South right now?
Who is a quarterback in the NFC South right now?
Jameis.
Jameis.
Are we really about to throw Red Rocket, Andy Dalton into the mix? Because I might at this point. Because I don't know who is Blaine Gabbert the current QB1 in Tampa?
It's Kyle Trask.
Oh, right, it is Trask, right?
And then Desmond Ridder in Atlanta.
It's just booty cheeks this year. No offense to him. I mean, I just didn't think that was going to ever work out. And but. God, that's
an interesting development. You obviously they do need a quarterback, but you got to just cut your losses and start this rebuild now instead of waiting more and getting yourself in a worse spot.
I think they'd be stupid to extend Thomas personally. I just think that's money that they don't need to pay.
Well, it's complicated because they have to get under the cap somehow, and cutting him saves them a little bit, but not a ton. And they'd have to restructure other guys. But if they restructure him, they can save a bunch of money now. But then it's going to be if they restructure Michael Thomas, you're going to look at his deal and be like, oh, he's a cap hit of $74 million in 2026. And you're like, what are we going to do with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because eventually all these guys you keep restructuring with Cam Jordan and all these guys you keep, DeMario Davis, all these guys you keep restructuring, eventually they're not going to be playing football anymore. And eventually you're going to have to get rid of them. It already happened with Teron Armstead, and now they're paying him not to play there. It's going to happen with all of their veterans in the next few years.
Rough. I mean,
yeah.
I would agree with all your guys' points. Derek Carr isn't bad, but he's also not really that good at this
not winning
stage.
The Saints a Super Bowl.
He's not winning them a playoff game. He's not winning them a division. I mean, maybe with this garbage division, but if that's what they're really smiling about, then sure, that's pretty pathetic. They just need to tear it down, like you guys said. I mean, there's so many decent quarterbacks coming out the next couple of years. You don't want to take a chance on a 30-year-old. I feel like I'm not expecting Carr to go there, honestly, but it's interesting that they're at least hearing the offers. They got a first-round pick for Sean Payton. That should be able to start the process a little bit to start accumulating draft capital and really focusing on the future, but they don't seem to want to do that.
Yeah. I think the ceiling, if Carr were to go there for that team, would be they'd win the division and then maybe win their first home playoff game in the wild card round and then lose the next round. It's their ceiling. That's probably the best that team can do. So
yeah, they go 7-9, they win the division, and they play the Giants, and Daniel Jones shits himself on the second play of the game, and then they win. That's literally how that would only they would not be Derek Carr is what Derek Carr in my mind is just Joe Flacco. He's just there. He just doesn't, I don't know.
Or Joe Flacco without the playoff legendary moments.
Yeah, without the ability to play like Joe Montana for an extended period of time. But yeah, I think
Carr makes more sense for the Jets or something like that. the Saints are digging themselves this hole, and they're already seeing the downsides of it, and if they keep doing it, you're going to see like a 3, 4, 5 year period of where the Saints are just in hell. Like they're just so bad. They're going to have like a Browns like extended period of being terrible if they don't try and.
Hey, all I gotta say is it would have been worth it if the refs didn't call the worst penalty of all time.
I don't fault them for. Yeah, I don't fault them for the reinvest in this Drew Brees team. It was worth it.
They went all in on Drew Brees.
It was worth it. Yeah, but now it's time to pay up. Now it's time
just gonna suck
pay
too,
up for it.
because then they're gonna have to, in 3 years, they're gonna have to think, fuck, do we pay Olave? Because he's gonna be fucking, no matter what quarterback's there, he's still gonna have I can't imagine he's gonna be good. Yeah. He's gonna have 1,000 yards next year.
So get out from your cap hole before that comes up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You need to prepare to pay him
before anything else. Yeah.
And I mean, shit. Like if you want to get to the point where you could extend him like freely as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and
not saying you have to, but have the ability to.
No, they can get it. They can get something done. It's one player, so it's like whatever. But you want to get to the place where you're not worried about losing all of you. Like last offseason, they lost Marcus Williams, and they wanted to franchise tag him. They couldn't franchise tag him because it was mathematically impossible for them to get $15 million under the cap. They just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
They couldn't franchise. Yeah, so they need to start selling and just sit through it for a year or two, and then you'll sit through it for a year or two, and then you'll have clean books and Caleb Williams, and it would be awesome. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, no lottery in the NFL. Like you can really just bottom out and do it.
Yep.
They also have even this year they're gonna lose some key pieces. Marcus Davenport's a free agent. He's gone.
They can't keep him.
Bradley Roby has been a starter for them. Gone. David Onyemata, gone.
Thomas is probably gone.
Yeah, I mean, they might look to trade Cam Jordan as well. We
don't know what Kamara's future looks like. All this stuff, so
it's bad. Yeah, but in other quarterback news, probably the biggest news to break over the week, Tom Brady has announced his second official retirement. He's. I don't want to call him the GOAT because I don't think he is, but good to get this fraud out of the league.
Average.
I bought a bottle of sand on eBay for $90,000.
That was insane.
You guys couldn't see it, but Tom Brady was actually sitting on my face. I was in the sand.
Oh God.
Oh boy.
Well, buried himself under.
Yeah, I look. That scene in the Hunger Games when PETA is the Rock. I was basically that, but with sand. I think it's at this point I'm like whatever. Like I don't. It's like irrelevant enough to like he was bad, not bad enough. He wasn't like.
He was not that good though.
He was not that good. He was okay. Like he was
still win a Super Bowl with Brady because he's going to be smart, but like it's like.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd have to have a perfect team around him. Like if
he's
you
not
were
going to necessarily elevate your offense.
Yeah,
the Niners are the only team I can see that he could have came back and won a Super Bowl with. So and if he's and the Niners weren't really interested. So if he doesn't think he can compete for a Super Bowl, he was going to retire, and that makes sense. Yeah. I think this one's for real. I really it seems for real.
He said
the news on his announcement.
He's moving to Miami. You already know he's moving to Miami, and he's just gonna get play. It's what's gonna happen. Can we act like it's not gonna? He's gonna play golf.
Yeah, Bachelor Tom Brady.
He's gonna play golf, and he's gonna fuck women. It's what's gonna happen.
Sounds like a good life, man. Sounds like a perfect life.
Brady's entering his rom-com era. He's gonna win Giselle back. That's his plan.
He's going for Kim K. I said it. Bro. There's odds for it. There's odds for it. I'm not kidding.
For Brady and Kim K?
Yeah, there's odds for every
I
time.
wouldn't be surprised at this point, bro. Like he's retired now. He can do anything.
Pretty similar in age.
Yeah.
This is the elite football content that everyone's looking for.
Yeah. We should put that on our
what is everyone really talking about though? It's like
Tom Brady's
with Brady
all time. We got to see him play. That's pretty cool. I still hate him though because he ruined a lot of Ravens seasons. Although the Ravens kind of had his number for a few years there. That's all I'm saying. Joe Flacco outplayed him in back-to-back
What the
AFC
f-
Championship games.
What the fuck?
What?
I looked up these props for Kim K's next boyfriend. Dak Prescott's higher than Tom Brady at plus
Dak Prescott.
Who decides these?
Donald Trump Sr. plus 21,000.
Wait.
Senior.
Wait, see?
Andrew Tate's plus 21,000.
Wait.
I guess Donald Trump
Wait.
Senior is just Donald John
That's just
Trump.
no. That's
That's just Trump.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
just Trump.
just Donald Trump.
That's just Donald Trump.
That's just
No one's ever called him
80-year-old
senior.
Donald Trump.
Can I short that bet? Can I bet against that bet?
Yeah. Where are the it's minus. I mean, shit.
The Big Short 2, how a genius made $1 billion betting against relationships. All right. We can move
Yeah,
on. from Brady.
moving on. I guess we can move on from this
Interesting combo.
this debate. We can talk about the Pro Bowl real quick and then get into our NFL honors stuff. Just any thoughts on the new format for the Pro Bowl with the whole kind of games and then flag football? I thought the flag football is, other than the game, it's probably the next best thing that you can do.
Yeah, I
It's
was
still just not really that fun to watch.
It's fine. It's better than the Pro Bowl was, but I got a little kick out of watching them try to play golf. That was kind of fun.
And the players are having fun.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah,
If the players like
I don't
it.
know why Pete Davidson was there, but he was. That was kind of weird.
He's everywhere.
Yeah, it was fun, I guess. I didn't watch much of it. I was watching, NBA basketball games, and some college basketball games. The Pro Bowl's never going to be like other All-Star games are. It's never going to be like NBA All-Star Weekend or like, the MLB All-Star Weekend. It was fun enough. I don't know what you can do with it. This is probably the right way to do it. Just have some games and recognize the guys as opposed to, you can't play a football game anymore. It's just not going to happen. People are walking around. It's terrible.
Yeah. I feel like the Pro Bowl should kind of like you were saying, I feel like this is what they should do. And it should be more recognized as kind of like a weekend, kind of like how All-Star Weekend is with the NBA, where it's kind of like just a relaxing time for the players. Should kind of be something like that, where it's for the players, and then it's kind of like an honor to be part of the Pro Bowl team.
Yeah.
But yeah, the game's just kind of pointless at this point because they don't even touch each other really. So
they also don't even show up. It was Tyler Huntley, Derek Carr, Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins. Like, what was going on?
Yeah, Tyler Huntley, Pro Bowl quarterback.
Yeah, I like that they did tic-tac-toe with kickers and long snappers. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, and the long snappers were the only ones.
Yeah, nobody could hit it. I think
They had Pat Ricard. They had Pat Ricard catching punts.
Oh yeah, dude, Ricard did Peyton Manning called up 4 straight Ricard screen passes, and I'm like, all right, we can take off Peyton Manning on the Ravens offensive coordinator search.
Get him out of here.
He was heated at the end of that one game though.
Oh yeah,
he was into it. Yeah,
he's like, that's a flag, and just laying into the ref. I was like, oh god.
All right, yeah. I guess we can close that off with the news and then move to the NFL honors predictions for our awards here. I guess we can start with the most not important, but I guess famous award, the MVP of the NFL for this season. I think we're all gonna be unanimous here and
this
saying
should be
it's
pretty quick.
Mahomes.
Yeah, it's Mahomes.
I'm not the
Without-
doc about
He had the most. Didn't he have the most yards total, like rushing and passing in NFL history this year?
Probably
It's Mahomes.
it.
41
hurts if-
touchdowns, 5,250 yards, 67% completion.
If Hurts had played the whole year and didn't get hurt at the end, it would have been a
it could have
discussion.
been.
But even then, it's like, what are we doing? Like, at that, okay, if Jalen Hurts was on the Chiefs instead of Patrick Mahomes, they're what? Maybe a wild card team. Hold on,
Hold
bomb,
on,
the bomb.
intermission.
we're gonna take a quick football break here.
We're
talk
transitioning
basketball.
to NBA in the middle of the.
In the middle
in
of
the
talking
middle of
about
the podcast.
the MVP, but the Lakers, Jazz, and Timberwolves are finalizing a trade to send D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt to the Lakers.
Why the fuck would you do this, bro? Oh my!
Westbrook in a first-round pick to Utah, and Mike Conley Jr. in a second-round pick to Minnesota.
Also
All right,
in deal, Juan Toscano Anderson and Damian Jones to Jazz, Nikhil Alexander Walker to Timberwolves.
Okay, a lightly protected 2027 first
I
round
mean,
pick.
JTA's okay.
Not JTA's
D'Angelo
a funny.
Russell is back where he started. That's
Yeah, so Beasley, Russell, and Vanderbilt, and some second round picks and a protected first round pick in 27 to Utah. I'm gonna be
the
honest.
phrase
I'm gonna
lightly protected feels so weird to me.
let.
It's
I'm
going
a
to be top
Lakers.
3 protected, and they're going to get a
Yeah,
top
yeah.
3 pick, and then they're not even going to get the pick. And then they just traded 3 pieces for literally fucking the worst player in the league.
So
who's gonna-
I said on Tuesday's basketball podcast that the Lakers could get Conley, Vanderbilt, and Beasley for 1 first round pick. And I didn't know that I believed that, but that's what Sham said. So they did that, but they also got D'Angelo Russell instead of Conley. As a Lakers fan who hates Rob Pelinka, we'll little golf clap for Rob Pelinka. That's a good job. I don't love D'Angelo Russell. I don't love Malik Beasley. I like Jared Vanderbilt. He's a nice little piece, but
You talk about Malik Beasley is a like great 6-man to have for that.
yeah,
team.
no, Beasley can get some buckets for you, and D'Lo can run that offense, but he can't play defense. It's a
Perfect. A match made.
it's a good deal. It's a good deal for the Lakers. They didn't give up a unprotected first, which is a big deal for them. They still have that other first to play around with if they want to try and get in like the Gary Trent Jr. business or something like that.
I'm really surprised they were able to get it for one pick.
Yeah,
and
I am.
And that
I'm
pick
pretty
is
surprised too.
protected. It's a little, not heavily, but it is protected.
Yeah,
which really begs some
The
questions.
Lakers are now a contender again.
I don't know that they're a contender. They're a contender to make the
shut the
second
fuck up,
round.
they're contender.
Maybe they're not a
No.
contender. They are 5
going to
games
the
under
finals.
500.
I don't care. The fucking like they're like 2 games from top 4 in the
Honestly,
West.
you're more of a contender than the Grizzlies are at this point. John Morant's gonna catch a fucking felony case.
They got a
it's-
great defender in Vanderbilt, and then they got a much better replacement for Russ, and then a top tier 6-man.
I think the Lakers won this trade off first impression, but we'll have to see if anything else.
They're all young
comes
guys,
out.
so you can build on this and add some wing depth. We'll see. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Beverly and or Lonnie Walker are on the move. If they may send another trade to get another piece like a
I would
wing
like
of
Pat
some
Bev
kind.
to join the Sixers, but
I think that's on the table. I think if Pat Bev gets traded somewhere, he could get bought out, and Philly's very much on the table. But
we're gonna trade you Furkan Korkmaz after he demanded a trade.
All right, back to football.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
put that on hold.
we'll talk about that.
this
We're
in our
doing-
basketball pod.
Yeah, we're doing a basketball pod tomorrow, but we wanted to quickly. That was breaking news, so we wanted to quickly cover that. I'll go
Honestly,
back
throw
to-
that in the title. Shit, it'll be the smallest section, but it might
Breaking
yeah.
news.
We'll put a little timestamp so anybody who's watching basketball can go to that. But back to Mahomes MVP. If Mahomes,
MVP.
what I was saying was, if Mahomes was on the Eagles, I don't think that team would ever lose. They would never lose any games ever. If Hurts was on the Chiefs, they'd be a borderline playoff team, right? Kind of interesting, a frisky type thing. So if we're really talking about who's the most valuable player, it's Mahomes by a landslide, and it's not close. And then with Hurts missing games, no one had an argument. Mahomes, he should be the unanimous MVP. If he's not unanimous, someone's a hater. That's where I'm at.
I feel like, like you were saying, there would be something wrong if they didn't give it to him. The only thing you can think of is they're like, he's already won one, but like, this is the point in his career where it's like he's starting to solidify like a true serious legacy. So adding his second MVP, second All-Pro team, second All-Pro first team quarterback, like this is where he's going to start stacking things up. So it's like people, like voters need to be okay with, giving a young guy his second MVP before he turns 28, which is just absurd.
Mahomes is borderline has an MVP or not MVP as a Hall of Fame career going. Like,
he
Borderline. No, he's a Hall
tomorrow.
of Fame career. He could retire right now and he'd have a Hall of Fame career.
Like,
without
I think
question.
I think I'd agree with
5
that.
years.
That's crazy. Like he's absurd. Most people still had faith in him, but the only reason people didn't was they're like, oh, Tyreek left. He's not going to be able to just chuck the ball up deep to him. He proved again that he's by far I think the best quarterback. In
My
football.
take on the Mahomes thing is if he wins, he's going to win this MVP, and if he wins this Super Bowl, he's firmly like a top 7 quarterback of all time. Not like projecting, like already, like just if he retired today, I'd have him as like a top 7-8 quarterback of all time. Like that's because like it's not like we like, Barry Sanders only played till he was 30. Mahomes is 28, 29. He's 20, 27, 28. I think he's 28 right now. But my point, no one's had this dominant of a stretch of play at that position.
What would that be? That would be 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs if he were to go all the way.
Yeah, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 MVPs,
More touchdowns than
3
Troy.
3 Super Bowl appearances, 5 AFC Championship game appearances. Yeah, I think he'd already be up there.
That's ridiculous. But
we can move past MVP because it's clearly Mahomes.
Defensive Player of the Year. I have Chris Jones as my Defensive Player of the Year. I just think that if you've been giving it to Donald recently, I feel like you have to give it to Chris Jones because of what he did this season from the interior defensive line. Let me just look up his stats real quick. 15 and a half sacks coming from that nose tackle position. He also sometimes rushes outside, which is really incredible. He had 17 tackles for loss, 29 QB hits, 4 passes defended, 2 forced fumbles. I think he was the best defender in football. Obviously, the popular pick is Nick Bosa, as he is let me just check the odds. He is a minus 1,100 favorite.
Oh, wow. That is.
But yeah, I think Chris Jones, just from defensive tackle, I think if you gave it to Aaron Donald 3 times, I feel like you have to give it to Chris Jones.
Yeah, I am in the same boat. I think Theo Ash talked about this a little bit. The reason Aaron Donald won the DPOY in 2020 is they were looking at the advanced numbers and his double team rate and how effective he was being even despite that double team rate. And maybe some of this is a little based on the playoffs and it's not supposed to be, but screw it. I'm grading this how I want to grade it. Chris Jones has been, I think, the most impactful defender in the league. He is single-handedly their entire run defense. And he's lining up everywhere. And I think Chris Jones deserves it. But Bosa, Nick Bosa had a fantastic year and he'll probably win it. And I'm not gonna be up in arms like, Chris Jones got robbed. Like he deserves it, but Bosa has just as good a case. I would give it to Chris Jones though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually, I was thinking originally I'd give it to Jones, but after a little bit more consideration, I changed my pick to Bosa. I don't know, they're both very much deserving. They're both very good. I just think Bosa is just a bit more consistent, and like sometimes you see that Jones will have these weird playoff game moments where he doesn't, shine as brightly as maybe Bosa does. I'm not trying to say he's not great. He's one of like the best defenders in the game. I just think that Bosa's a bit better. It really does that. And it seems like the betting consensus also would agree with that, which I was surprised to see it be that much in Bosa's favor, but it is.
Yeah. I'm more, I think I really don't care about this one. Like, I think this can either way. I think it's deserving of either player. I think I agree that Bosa seems like he's a little more consistently there, but Chris Jones is a monster, dude. He can completely just change the way a drive goes and it just tears through an O-line. So
yeah,
I think Chris Jones should win it, but I think that just based on betting numbers and the way
and just the production, like Bosa had 19 sacks, something like that. Bosa had a fantastic year, but Jones is 300 pounds lining up everywhere. Like he'll line up over the center. He'll line up as an edge rusher sometimes, and he'll beat a tackle with his quickness. Then he'll overpower an interior lineman. It's wildly impressive, and he had his best year yet. I think he absolutely deserves it, and I think he'll get one in one of these coming years because he's what, 28-ish. He's got some prime years left, and it'll be
I want to say
be interesting to see if he can get one because his year this year was as impressive as I know. Aaron Donald is one of the best defensive players of all time. Same with JJ Watt. Chris Jones had that kind of a season this year, and it just kind of went underappreciated just because the rest of the Chiefs defense isn't. It's Mahomes, and the rest of the Chiefs defense is not impressive. So, I think Chris Jones deserves some love there. And not that Bosa doesn't. Bosa also deserves it, but I'd give it to Chris Jones.
Yeah. I did want to say I got a stat here for the double teams. 342 of his pass rushes on the interior were double teams, which is 69% of his all of his interior pass rushes were against double teams, and he had 15 and a half sacks. So crazy stuff. But yeah, moving on from defensive player of the year, offensive player of the year. I think this one's also going to be unanimous. Justin Jefferson. I think we're all in agreement there.
I don't even think we need to talk about it. It's Justin Jefferson.
I'll just read his stats off. 128 catches, 1,809 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Incredible season with Kirk Cousins as your quarterback. So
made probably the best catch in NFL history, I'd argue, this year. I mean, he's ridiculous.
He just won. He single-handedly won them games.
He's 24, 23, whatever how old he is. He's gonna suck the guard for another 5 years at least. So
yeah, I feel like MVP
is the closest thing we've had to Calvin Johnson since Calvin Johnson.
MVP is the QB award, and I feel like when it comes to offensive player of the year, either it's the best running back of the season or the best wide receiver. And I don't think we had a running back season close to what Justin Jefferson did. And I think Justin Jefferson was pretty far ahead of the next best wide receiver, which I think was probably Tyreek Hill. And I think Justin Jefferson deserves it this year. So I think we're all in agreement there. We move on to defensive rookie of the year.
Is it Hurts a finalist for OPOY? That'd be kind
of. I think so.
I feel like it'd be weird to give it to.
That wouldn't be.
It's a weird award.
Because it's weird, yeah, because I feel like it's one and the same with MVP, because it's never MVP is never going to be. They never make it a fucking defender. Like it's never like actually like.
Yeah,
I think Mahomes is the MVP this year, absolutely, 100%.
Well, my question is, why is he not the offensive player of the year? Like, I mean,
I think
I understand the spirit of the award is they should give it to Jefferson, and I would give it to Jefferson, but it's a little weird. Like, I don't quite get it, but you know, it is what it is, and I don't think they're going to change it. But if I did it, I'd have like MVP, and then instead of offensive player of the year, I'd just name it non-quarterback offensive player of the year.
Yeah, because my thing is like Hurts had a good bit of rushing touchdowns. Like their offense just scored so much this year. So
or like most impressive offensive performance or whatever. I don't know, because like by definition, wouldn't the most valuable player if he's on offense be the offensive player of the year? But whatever, we can move on. It's a weird award.
All right, let's move on to defensive rookie of the year. Also,
again, unanimous.
Not going to take very long to talk about Sauce Gardner. Literally, probably.
I think he's the best corner in football. I think
the best rookie performance from a corner or honestly a defender in a very long time. And he did it from one of the hardest positions to play, like as a rookie. And he just he's one of he's already a top 3, top 5 corner in the NFL. And he did it in his rookie year. He just absolutely shut down one side of the field. And the Jets got a absolute stud in the draft with him. And I think this is an absolute lock. I don't see anybody really anywhere close. Maybe Hutchinson's the second name, but it's just not close.
Yeah, I'd argue corner. I'd not argue. I'd almost guarantee corner is the hardest position to play, at least in football. You know why? Because a white guy hasn't started as a corner since 2001.
Yeah,
true.
That's a wild stat, but a corner is, quarterback for different reasons is as hard to play because mentally it's incredibly challenging.
You have to learn more for sure.
And it's a time commitment. But as far as like physically and down by down, because like if you're a receiver and you fuck up on a play, oh well, whatever. Next play. If you make one mistake as a corner, you're so screwed. You're so screwed.
Your whole day is
perfect.
Yeah. If a receiver plays perfect for 90% of the snaps, they have one of the best days in NFL history. If a corner plays perfect for 90% of the snaps and then just like terrible for 10%, they could have like the worst day in NFL history.
Yeah.
Like it's wild. And Sauce is, I think, the best corner in football already. So he deserves. He didn't get it, but I honestly think Sauce deserved to be like in the voting for defensive player of the year, period. But he shouldn't win it, but he should be acknowledged.
Yeah.
He's just chasing a dude, not knowing at all which direction he's going to be going, and just have to read his hips for 60 minutes and just chase him is just horrible. He's incredible. I don't think there's any question. But moving on to offensive rookie of the year.
This one's probably our biggest
This one
biggest debate. Yeah.
This will be fun.
I picked Kenneth Walker. He had 4.8 yards per carry, over 1,000 yards. Here, let me look up his touchdowns real quick just to, say all the stats. He had 9 touchdowns. And he did this not even being the starter at the beginning of the year, came in, took over the starting job after Rashad Penny went down with an injury, and just was incredible when he was the starter, and just incredible all season. So I think it was between him and Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson is a very close second for me. I just think that Kenneth Walker's season, not starting at the beginning of the year and kind of being a backup for a few games, makes it a little bit more impressive.
Yeah. I went with Wilson. He actually kind of was, because he was kind of not starting at the very beginning. Like his first few games, he was getting, like, if you remember week 1, because the Ravens played him week 1, he only got like 10 or 11 snaps. And if you somebody he had 1,100 yards and 4 touchdowns and 83 catches. He had a good year as a rookie. That's fantastic. But if somebody mentioned the stat, if you take out the games Zach Wilson started and like tracked his pace for all the games with Mike White and Joe Flacco, he would have had like 1,500 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns or something crazy. But I think Wilson is one of the 10, 50. He's pushing already one of the 15, 10 best receivers in football, and he's fun to watch. Him or Walker. Purdy's the other name up. I wouldn't give it to Brock Purdy. I actually think I wish Olave would have gotten that 3rd spot for the recognition. But yeah, I'd go Wilson, but I'm not gonna. I think Walker is Walker the betting favorite. That would be my guess.
I'll look.
He is, yeah.
And I wouldn't mind that either. I think they did a good job picking those two at least.
I'd go Wilson too, personally. Just because, like you said, he was on the field for whatever 10, 11 snaps against us, but he still had 4 receptions for 52 yards, which is like pretty incredible pace for not playing that much. He's a really talented receiver, and he's going to be really, really good. It's just a matter of the Jets can find a consistent guy to throw the ball to him. Walker had a great year, but Walker didn't play whatever the first 3 games, and he stepped up, had a little bit of injuries towards the end of the year, week like 14 or 16. He had some ankle issues. I think he had like a weird play on the sideline where he like rolled his ankle, like making a weird step. But yeah, I think I wouldn't be mad about either of those 2 guys winning it. So
yeah, I had Walker, but again, it's the same deal. They're both going to be perennial Pro Bowl guys at their position, if I had to guess, the way they started their careers. If Garrett Wilson had, even literally anybody, like a quarterback, he would have been so good. He already was so good. So if the Jets can even get their Carr in there, like, never heard someone clamoring for him before, but just to see what Garrett can do with a great offense, that would be really electric. But yeah, I still got Walker. I think he had the better year.
They just need consistency there. Like they have, and like they've drafted really well. Quinnen Williams was a fucking amazing pick for them. I mean, Sauce, obviously, Garrett Wilson, like they had especially this year, they had a really, 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 really good. Yeah, Breece Hall. I forgot about BreeceAll. He was amazing when he was.
Yeah.
I think Breece Hall was the obvious favorite had he not.
Oh, absolutely. If he would have kept on pace, he probably would have rushed for like 1,500 yards. Like he was
really good. Yeah, before he went down an injury. But the odds, I did want to say, just to throw them out there, it's minus 125 right now for Walker, plus 200 for Wilson. So it's a really close race. Could go to anybody, but we'll see. We'll see tomorrow. Got 2 more left. Comeback player of the year now. I think this is going to be unanimous. Maybe it's between Geno Smith and probably Saquon Barkley. I think Nick Bosa's in there too. But I think just based off of kind of the storyline, I know this doesn't matter as much, but the whole
kind of does matter.
What?
I say it kind of does matter. That's kind of how this award goes. It's the award's inconsistent. Sometimes it's who's the best player that came back from an injury, and sometimes it's like who came back from who had the best story from coming back. Like Eric Berry. Obviously, Eric Berry won coming back from cancer. That was amazing, right? And stuff like that. And Alex Smith won, even though he didn't have the best season because of the crazy leg thing. I think Geno, because of his Gino wasn't even hurt. Gino just he came back from being bad. Like
Hasn't been a starter like consistently in the NFL
since 2014, right?
since 2014. Like and in 2014 he threw for 2,500 yards and 13 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. That's like I'm pretty sure he played like half the year. And he had a 77 QB rating.
Then he comes back and
In
looks
2022.
outstanding. Looks
He honestly
best
he
quarterback
had
in the league.
Russ got hurt a little bit last year in his last year in Seattle, or 2 years ago, I guess, in his last year in Seattle. So he played a little then, and he actually played okay for like a stretch of like 2 games. But then I guess I thought they were going to ride Drew Lock the whole year. I thought he was going to actually be decent for them. And then Geno Smith came out. I mean, did he deserve to be in the Pro Bowl? I mean, you could maybe argue it, probably not. Obviously, guys aren't playing and all that, so he's just a reserve kind of type guy. But I mean,
yeah,
good for him, dude. I mean, shit, he's probably 30 years old.
He's 30. He's only
32.
1 year younger than Russell Wilson. He's 1 year younger than Russell Wilson.
Yeah, he had by far his best career, but I think best year. But yeah, I was gonna say it's either Geno Smith or Saquon, but I think, like we were just saying, the story for Geno is just.
If we're doing like if the award is actually who had the best season after they were hurt last season, then Bosa would deserve it. But
yeah.
that's not really how the award goes. It goes off who had the biggest injury or who has the best story. So I think Geno will win it, and I think he deserves it. It's fun seeing the Geno resurgence. That was a lot of fun this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like Alex Smith came back and was fucking horrible. He was so bad. Like for that year, whenever Washington just like threw him in that poor dude's leg. Oh my god, that was bad. But coach of the year.
Coach of the year, yeah.
Unanimous here.
Ryan Dable.
It's the way. This is the way it goes every year.
I'm surprised it's unanimous, but I'd give it to Dable. Or you can finish your thought. Well,
I just feel like this is such a lock. It's just such an NFL honors pick. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just like they were so bad, and like they brought them to the playoffs. Like that's the pick for them for sure.
So I agree, right? I think Dable deserves it. I think he did the most with the least amount of talent, and I think that's kind of how the award is given out. But my thought is, no coach has won the award with less than 10 wins since Jimmy Johnson did it in 91, 92, one of those years. And now there's 17 games, so there's more opportunity to win games, and he still only went 9-7-1 or whatever. I think that was their record. But like I'm arguing against it, but his case is that's with a regular head coach who's a regular. Let's say Zach Taylor is the coach of the Giants. That team's winning 5 games. Like that team is winning 4 or 5 games. Like that roster has not a lot. And Dable, put them in positions to win, made Daniel Jones look like a solid quarterback, made Daniel Jones a lot of fucking money. And yeah, I think Dable deserves it. But Sirianni deserves a shout out. That roster is just so stacked that I don't think you can quite give it to him. Shanahan maybe deserves a shout out with
Shanahan deserves to have his name in the hat every year.
Yeah,
I feel.
Yeah. But yeah, Shanahan, also the fact that, their starting quarterback went down, then they won with Jimmy. And then Jimmy went down, they won with the Mr. Irrelevant. So I think, any other year, I think Shanahan would run away with this. And I wouldn't be shocked if Dable doesn't win. I actually don't think this one's going to be as much of a slam dunk, but I would give it to Dable, but I think Shanahan might snatch some votes, is what I'm thinking.
I honestly think he might deserve it more. I think part of me thinking that is just like the way that the road's going to go. Like just more predicting than less of what I think. But I mean, like you're absolutely right. Like Brock Purdy is on any other team. They are not doing that. There's not a single other team that would do as well with Brock Purdy as the 49ers did. I have no doubt in my mind. Granted, that's because of rosters and stuff like that. But like, if you put Brock Purdy on the Ravens, he's not going to be.
We'd win 4 games.
Brock Purdy is out of the league if he was on the Ravens this year. So, like, shout out Shanahan. He's a mastermind.
I just think, from the point of view of how no one really expected the Giants to do anything this year, and look at them. They made it to the second round of the playoffs. They made the playoffs in general with Daniel Jones at quarterback. So I think that's, in my opinion, why Dable should win. But yeah, Shanahan's always, I mean, he's top 3 coach right now, maybe top 2 in the NFL. But yeah, that wraps it up for our honors predictions for our awards. We can move on to the Super Bowl preview here. Obviously, Chiefs, Eagles. The spread last time I looked was -1.5 for the Eagles as the favorites. And my takeaway when looking at this game is it's the best roster in the NFL versus the best player. And I personally think that the Chiefs are going to win this. I think the Chiefs are going to beat the Eagles.
Yeah. I think the fact that the Chiefs are even in the Super Bowl should terrify the league because Mahomes' contract has already kicked in. They cleared Tyreek Hill's money off their books. They have a whole bunch of new starters and rookies playing right now. They have a bunch of cap room next year because of all that. And, strictly structurally, with how they treated the offseason and how they had a bunch of picks last year. They had 2 firsts and they had 2 seconds the year before that, and all this stuff. Structurally, it looks like a team that's rebuilding, and they're in the Super Bowl because they have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And that should terrify people, especially AFC teams, for the future, because it's not like, the Bills had a really good year, but it's like, okay, Diggs' money's coming up and Allen's money's coming up, and they're going to lose some pieces here, and it's going to be tough. The Chiefs prepared their roster such that they were so confident in Mahomes that they're not going to do what the Saints did. They weren't going to, maximize the Mahomes 5-year rookie deal window. They were like, nope, we're going to have a 20-year window at Mahomes. And it's looking like it might be I'm not saying they're going to have a Patriots-like run where they win 6 Super Bowls, but they're going to be in it every year. And I think for this game specifically, to narrow in, I also like the Chiefs, strictly because I have that much faith in Patrick Mahomes. And I think he will find a way to get the job done. And that Eagles defense, again, we talked about this last week and we're like, or 2 weeks ago before the NFC Championship game, it's like, their first test is coming up against the Niners. And it's like, well, then they ran out of quarterbacks, so they didn't get tested against the Niners. So I think the Eagles are preparing to play a level of quarterback they haven't played all year. Obviously, no one's Mahomes, but they haven't even played really any crazy elite talents at quarterbacks all year. And I think offensively, even against that Eagles pass rush, I think the Chiefs are going to be able to move the ball. I think Mahomes is going to continue to get the ball out quick when he has to. I think the ankle is going to look much better after 2 full weeks of rest here. And I think they're going to be able to win a relatively high scoring game. They're nobody's scoring 40 points, but I mean 20, 28, 31 kind of points for the Chiefs. And I think they'll be able to move the ball up and down. That's not to say I don't think it will be a good game. I think there's certainly a path to victory for the Eagles, but Jalen Hurts, I actually think Jalen Hurts has looked more injured than Mahomes. Through these playoffs, they haven't had to struggle yet because they haven't played any serious teams yet. But Jalen Hurts he's looked iffy out there with that shoulder. And I'm far more concerned about Jalen Hurts' shoulder in this game than I am about Mahomes' ankle. I don't know what you guys think about that.
On the topic of the injury kind of thing, I think that we'll see how it plays out. They both have had some weeks to recover now, which is nice. But on the bigger topic of just Chiefs Eagles, which probably talk about the main matchup, I have the Chiefs winning, but I think it'll be really close. I mean, both teams are so good. Like the Chiefs have the best quarterback that I've ever seen play, under center, and Andy Reid it's going to be the Reid Bowl or whatever you want to call it, with the revenge tour for Andy to finally prove the Eagles. I'm 100% wrong in getting rid of him, but it seems like the Eagles go through amazing head coaches left and right. I don't know what they got going on over there, but they seem to know how to scout out talent at that role. But anyway, Reid will definitely have his work cut out for him with the Eagles, though. I mean, Hurts has been great all year. Their rushing attack is just beautiful, and they have some great weapons out there for Hurts to throw to make him not to work too hard. and their defense is great too. You got Reddick, who's just shredded it up this year. I don't think anyone saw this sack output coming. I mean, this happens sometimes. Guys will have like crazy sack numbers for one season, and it's going to be unlikely he ever hits this number again. But he'll be an effective pass rusher for sure going forward. And we'll see how the Chiefs O-line can handle their front seven. But yeah, I think the Chiefs will win. It'll be really close, but Mahomes is just the best player on the field at any given moment, and it seems like he can really pull a rabbit out of a hat like we saw it last week, and we'll see it again. So I'm excited. It'll be a great game.
Yep.
I think it's really important. I mean, this kind of like it's like obvious, but like the Chiefs need to like keep consistently scoring. I think that's the only way I see them, because I think that I just think Philly's offense is just too talented. I mean, if Chris Jones has a great game and their secondary steps up, then maybe. But I think their offensive roster is just too talented, and I think they'll just be able to run the ball and just score pretty not easily, but way more naturally than. But again, there's Mahomes there at quarterback, so
yeah, I think Chris Jones against that Eagles offensive line will be one of my favorite things. I'm excited to watch in that game. I know most football fans, or at least especially the casual football fans, aren't like, "Ooh, can't wait to watch all
Jason
the
Kelce
big guys
just line up."
just Jason Kelce and Chris Jones go at it." But I am really excited to watch those two attack, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs, they'll move Jones around like they always do and try and find the weakest link on that offensive line, but there really isn't one. So even Lane Johnson, who's hurt, and I theorize, Lane Johnson on that injury maybe would struggle with Bosa, but he didn't. He looked great against Bosa, although Bosa was kind of looking hurt that whole game too. But that's interesting. I think the path to victory for the Eagles is dominate the Chiefs. The Chiefs O-line is okay. It's solid, right? It's not great, but the Eagles pass rush has been fantastic, and I think the Eagles' path to victory is hope Mahomes can't move quite like he wants to and just get after him with Hassan Reddick and Brandon Graham and all those guys, and Josh Sweat and all those guys. And I think it actually does, matchup wise, it does kind of remind me of that Tampa Super Bowl, right?
I was literally just about to say that. Yeah,
similar kind of event.
Best roster in the league.
Yep, that's kind of the path to victory for the Eagles. But the difference is Mahomes was missing 2 tackles and a guard in that game. I think that the Chiefs O-line this time around is good enough to withstand that kind of defensive assault. But it's not a top 5-3 O-line in the league by any means. I don't think it's good. It's certainly good. It's certainly not what it was when they lost Schwartz and they lost Fisher in 2020 or whatever. I think it was 2020, right? When they played Tampa in the Super Bowl. But I think it'll be just good enough, and I think his ankle will be just healthy enough that he can move around enough, and they'll be able to hold up. But Hassan Reddick's going to blow by Orlando Brown once or twice. But Orlando Brown, Wiley, and Joe Tooney and Creed Humphrey, it's a damn good O-line.
They have
they're I wouldn't put them in like the top 3, but they're definitely a top 10 offensive line in the league, and it's very solid. And I think they're much more well equipped to handle. If they had to play that exact version of Tampa now, I think they'd be much better equipped to win that game, and that's kind of why I'd pick them to win this one.
I think honestly, it's gonna sound weird, but having Tyreek Hill off this team, kind of, Mahomes had to, go 5-step drop. It's gonna take some time for Tyreek to get down the field. Here, where Kelce's his main option, and he can go 3-step drop, and then just immediately gun the ball out before any pressure can even get to him most of the time. So I mean, that already eliminates a lot of the coverage sacks, I guess, because it's going to take him a while to throw it like deeper down the field. I know it's kind of like, Tyreek Hill being on the team obviously is, amazing. I just think that for a game specifically like this, where the pass rush for the Eagles is historically good, it's good to have a guy that you can just gun it to after 3-step drop and just, not even have any time for the pressure to even get in your face.
Yeah, Mahomes was doing some of the craziest shit I've ever seen to try and get passes off in that 2020 Super Bowl or 2021 Super Bowl against Tampa.
That picture of him like floating, down. Yeah,
like that was ridiculous. It's gonna be it's the exact same scenario, and it's the best, like by far the most stacked looking, like easily the most stacked looking roster. I mean, I'd argue other than a healthy San Francisco, maybe versus, I mean, offensively at least, and versus, I mean, I don't know. I think Mahomes is gonna have like 350 yards and like 4 touchdowns. I just feel like he's gonna go off. Like he just is way more prepared than his last time. I think he's gonna be healthy enough. I don't think it's gonna really be that big of an issue for him.
You have like 4 weeks off. It's like 3 or 4 weeks since that.
I think the score is gonna be something like 31, like 28, or like 35, 30. I don't know.
Really, something like that. I agree.
I was gonna say, before we get to our bets here, we can just, I didn't want to propose the question. What does this, obviously this elevates Mahomes and, you know, his legacy continues to grow stronger, but are we ready to put him, if he wins this Super Bowl and the Super Bowl MVP and performs elite and well, are we ready to put him, no, I feel like it's difficult to say top 5, but with his resume already, he's pushing 6 or 5.
I think it's not hyperbolic to say he has an argument against if he wins the Super Bowl and gets this MVP and the Super Bowl MVP, he will have and you know, plays fantastic as we expect. He has an argument against every quarterback of all time besides Brady, Manning, and Montana.
Yeah.
I think outside of those 3, you can make a case for him over anyone.
He's already better than, shout out all the old heads who disagree.
What'd you say?
I said he's already better than Marino. I said shout out to the old heads who disagree.
No, yeah, but like I'd be fringe on him or Marino. It'd be close. Same with him and you know, guys like, if you want to go real back, you know, Johnny Unitas or whatever.
I was gonna say Johnny Unitas.
You know, Sammy Ball, you know, you go real back. No, but more modern names, you know, Elway, stuff like that. You know, Breeze is interesting. Rodgers, of course. But, you know, like if, you know, stack his resume against Rodgers after this, there's certainly a case. That's, you know, I'd take Rodgers because of the longevity at this point, but I'd have Mahomes pretty firmly top 5, 6, 7, and pushing anybody besides the top 3 there if they win this one.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah. I feel like, I don't know, from a legacy standpoint, I mean, it's obviously way too early, but he's already pushing Peyton Manning.
He's getting there. He's getting there for real. Honestly, he's the greatest player. His numbers wise, he's first in every major playoff per game stat, like passer rating, yards, touchdown to interception ratio, everything. He's number 1. So you know,
is he better than Kyle Bowler though?
Yeah. If he, you know, he's chasing Brady. It's going to take a while because I don't think you need to win 7 Super Bowls to be considered the GOAT, but you know, it would be tougher if he didn't win. I think he needs at least 4 to be in the Brady.
I was going to say like 4 or 5
Obviously.
to really
4 Super Bowls and 1 more MVP, and he's past Brady in my opinion.
Yeah,
3 MVPs, 4 Super Bowls.
Probably, yeah.
I think 3
easier said than
MVPs. Yeah, 3 MVPs is a lock. He'll have at least
he'll win another MVP.
I think he might win 3 more MVPs. He might win 5 or 6 MVPs. Yeah,
win at least another MVP and probably at least another Super Bowl.
Yeah, the MVPs are much less of a question mark than the Super Bowl.
If you set the Mahomes over under Super Bowl wins at 3.5, I'd take the over. And if you set
control over the go ahead.
Oh, I would too. 100%.
So if you set MVPs at 3.5 total, he's already at 2. You think I'd take the over for sure. If you said at 4.5, I'd probably still take the over.
I would say he probably has more control over winning MVP than winning a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like that's just a 1 player award. Meanwhile,
but if you look at
all the cards to fall right for him to win a Super Bowl.
If he's willing to keep if he doesn't ask for more money and he's willing to keep this cap hit for the rest, like. He's making a lot of money right now, but with the way the quarterback market's going, he's going to be at such a cheap deal, and he's under contract for like 9 more years. So he's going to have a chance to win, to have the best roster while all these other quarterbacks are being paid. So it'll be interesting to see for sure. I definitely think, you know, I think he's the best football player I've ever seen play, and this would be huge for him. Mm-hmm. Sneaky huge for Andy Reid too. He could make a push at. He's already like a top 3, 4, 5 coach of all time. He could make a serious push for for if he could win a few more in these next few years, he could have a case for greatest coach of all time. It'd be tough. It'd be closer to second probably, but he could make a case.
Yeah.
Huge legacy game for a lot of the Chiefs guys, but
Yeah.
we can move on here to the bets and then finish up with the Nick Miller question today. As always, we've got some interesting props for you, and you are going to want to throw your mortgage on these bets. All right. We have 3 props here, and they're not going to be what you think they are, but I'll read them off.
Or maybe they
Our first
are.
prop. What were you going to say?
So maybe they are what you think they are. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe someone's coming to
Please
look
don't
for.
stop the props.
yeah.
That's
Our
all I'm
first
gonna
prop here, we have orange Gatorade as the Gatorade to be poured on the winning head coach at plus 300. Lock that. Prop over 1:59 on the national anthem, which is minus 280. I think Chris Stapleton is going to go
Hammer.
over that. We all came to an agreement on
Hammer
that.
that.
And then our last prop is Don't Stop the Music as the first song for the Super Bowl halftime show at plus 245. Lock that in as well. Throw your college fund on it. Fuck the kids. You're making the money.
Yeah. And I would say, you might think, oh, these guys are just pulling this out of their ass. There's no statistics to back up these props. Wrong. Chiefs last time they won the Super Bowl, orange Gatorade.
Yeah.
Eagles last time they won the Super Bowl in 2017, orange Gatorade. These 2 teams have a tendency to lean towards the orange Gatorade.
Yeah.
So that's stat number 1. Stat number 2, it has to be Please Don't Stop the Music. That's the stat. That's what I'm telling you. It has to be. And
I can give some statistical analysis on that.
yeah, let's hear it from Wilhelm.
Okay, so basically, I saw a TikTok about this, but this is not all where this is coming from. This is partially from my own brain. So basically, it's never the new shit. It's never the shit that just came out. Like, it's not going to be. I mean, she hasn't dropped anything. Like, she dropped like "Lift Me Up" for Wakanda Forever. Like, that's not it. That's not possible. It's got to be something that everybody knows. But that the most important thing is that can be recognized within the first second or 2 of the song. Like, it's got to be like everyone hears it and is ready to go. I just voice cracked. That sucks. But because instantly on Please Don't Stop the Music, that's what you hear. She started like it. You press play and she's Please Don't Stop the Music. So that's the lock.
Yeah. So that the only other option is Umbrella because of the recognizable riff and Jay-Z going to start of it. But
Yeah.
I think Please Don't Stop the
That's a
Music.
feature, and he's not there. So
Yeah, he's exactly.
You're not
So you
opening
gotta-
the show with Jay-Z. Like, no.
Yeah, you're not opening it with somebody else's voice. So you got to open it with
unless
I
Jay-Z
think-
shows up, and then we're fucked. Then we're
Yeah.
so
If
double.
Jay-Z shows up,
Then we're
fucked.
done.
Imagine
Okay,
tomorrow we
because-
see an announcement that's Jay-Z performing at the Super Bowl. Like, shit.
If you see that announcement, lock it in. No, but sometimes they like to introduce the feature a little later. So maybe we're still
sometimes it
good
is a
there. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're good.
Now, Declan, you picked this last one for the Super Bowl MVP bet. What do we have here?
So I like 2 bets. One, we were gonna go with Chiefs money line as a bet, but no reason to bet that. If the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, Mahomes will be the MVP. I promise. So you can get Mahomes Super Bowl MVP at plus 130. That's good money, right? So that covers if you win that, that's covering your bet plus 30. So right, you win. So then you can make one more bet of the same unit size, right? If the Eagles win, it could be Jalen Hurts, very possible. Also plus 130, but there's no high reward there. I think the path to the Eagles' victory is getting after the quarterback, similar to Tampa Bay. And I think Hurts is hurting a little bit with his shoulder and might have a game similar to he had against the 49ers, where if you looked at the stats, he's not winning Super Bowl MVP. Who would have won Super Bowl MVP if the Niners game was the Super Bowl? Would have been Hassan Reddick. You can get Hassan Reddick at plus 3,400. So that way, if Mahomes wins and the Chiefs win, and say you bet $10 and you lost your 10 on Hassan Reddick, you made $3, whatever, covers your bases over there. If Hassan Reddick wins and the Eagles win and they take that path, you lose your 10, but then you make whatever you make $340 for your Hassan Reddick pick. And I think it's a good bet. That's a value bet. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but I think he is the most likely non-quarterback to win it. He has a chance to win it. And I think it's worth making a bet on Hassan Reddick.
Trust us.
I don't see any corners. Like, I don't think unless if Slay gets like 2
Unless
picks.
Slay has a pick 6 or something.
Yeah, a pick 6 and like another pick and just like a bunch of tackles. But I mean,
It's gonna be an edge rusher probably.
Reddick
You can
fucking-
strip sack
Even
or
when
something.
Reddick can
Stephon Gilmore had that Stephon Gilmore had that crazy game against
The Rams.
Rams. He didn't even win it.
Yeah, Julian Edelman won it. Like that was wild. But yeah, I think that wraps up everything but the question of the day, correct?
Yep.
Correct.
All right, so we can go into the Nick Miller. I unfortunately have the answer to this, so I will not be participating today. Nick could not send it in invisible ink from his laptop, so he had to send it. So obviously, trademark, copyright, all rights reserved. Nick Miller question of the day is: who has the most rushing yards in the Super Bowl? Not in a single game, in their career. So total rushing yards in the Super Bowl.
Please don't do that.
All right, I have my answer.
All right, when you have your answer, let me know. We can start once Wilhelm makes up his mind.
All right. I'm still typing, so just go.
It's probably wrong. Honestly.
Okay. He's typing. Zach, you got it?
Yeah.
All right. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, you can go first.
My first, I changed my answer midway through. My first selection was Corey Dillon.
Okay.
Patriots running back, but I switched it to Roger Craig, who was my
Interesting pick. All right, Wilhelm.
So.
I don't even know if he played like in any Super Bowls. I had Emmitt Smith. I just thought like yardage. I just figured the Cowboys.
He played in some Super Bowls. He definitely did.
Like, I knew he played in some Super Bowls. I just couldn't think of how many. I was like,
okay.
I just knew yardage he would be fine. But
And Kobe?
Kind of a weird pick, I guess. But when I can't think of anyone that stands out that much to me, I usually try and go for like a fun one. So I picked LeGarrette Blount. I hope
that's interesting.
I hope that's it.
He's good in two, I think.
Unfortunately, nobody got it right. It is Franco Harris.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Damn.
rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Franco.
Wow.
He didn't catch it, by the way. I want you all to know that.
Yeah, that was a bad angle for the ball. But yep, nobody could get it this time. I definitely wouldn't have gotten that one. So it was a good question from Nick. That was a very challenging one, but also within the realm of us being able to get. It's a great quality question from our sponsor, Nick Miller.
Our sponsor.
Our sponsor. That wraps it up. We covered some football stuff. We had a little bit of basketball trade news in there. This is quickly. Apparently, the Clippers are interested in Russell Westbrook. Should he get bought out?
And the Bulls too. The Bulls are also interested.
That'll be wild. We'll have a trade deadline pod out tomorrow, reacting to everything that happens at the trade deadline. So that'll be a lot of fun. And we'll obviously we'll recap the Super Bowl next week afterwards, and we should have a baseball podcast that'll be up by the time this one is up. So thank you all for watching, and we will catch you next time. See ya.
See ya.